History records this day, April 22nd, as the first revolt of enslaved Africans in North America. Fitting then that today, 495 years later, we are here at the People's Gathering, talking about the continuation of that revolt and the resolute fight to dismantle anti-Black racism for true, long-term, generational advancement. If you haven't figured it out by now, race is a problem in America, in Washington state, in the world. We haven't even gotten to racism yet. Race is an external social construct no one can opt out of. Its foundation is the myth that white people are superior to all others on the planet. That is the simplest definition of white supremacy, and it is the catalyst for racism as we live, struggle, triumph, and die today. In the history of the world, on every occupied continent, you find colonization, white supremacy, and anti-Black racism. But somewhere along the way in that history, after wielding these weapons of genocide everywhere around the planet, white people and the beneficiaries of whiteness, which is anyone who is not Black, white people decided to forget what they created, unleashed, and what they were and continue to be responsible for. The myth of race wasn't simply an idea incepted into the minds of people. It was enforced with sustained, brutal violence. It still is. The choice to forget in order to have the privilege to deny left the rest of us, primarily Black people, but Black and Indigenous peoples around the world, spending the majority of our blood, sweat, and tears focused on educating our oppressor or its beneficiaries, many of whom are in this room today, while also defending our very lives. Audre Lorde wrote, "Frequently, when speaking with men and white women, I am reminded of how difficult and time-consuming it is to have to reinvent the pencil every time you want to send a message." Diversity, equity, and inclusion has been a recognized industry for at least roughly 40 years. And through each of its stages, it has primarily existed to reintroduce people to the reality and impacts of race. The mere fact that the term, this industry, diversity, inclusion, and equity even exists is because white people and people who maintain positional power at every level in this country decided to adopt this "I don't see race, we're all from the human race" nonsense. And do you know why? When I say the words white supremacists, what comes to mind? Tiki torches, law enforcement, the former president of the United States, Proud Boys storming the Capitol, or beating people in communities peacefully protesting for their rights, or people wearing hoods, burning crosses, and lynching Black bodies. That's what you think of when you think of a white supremacist. You don't think of Nancy down the hall in accounting. After 30 years of educating our oppressor, we spent the last decade having to listen to white people and the beneficiaries of white supremacy defend the impacts of racism by holding up their intention as good people. I'm not racist. I'm a good person. I'm not racist. I have Black friends. I'm not racist. My boyfriend is Black. I'm not racist. I donate to BLM. I'm not racist. I like rap music. I'm not privileged. My family was poor. Because nobody wants to be a white supremacist. And that's what you think of when you find out you might be, or probably are, racist or biased towards Black people. You think of tiki torches and white hoods. We think of Nancy in accounting, Karen at the park, Chad at the bank when we're trying to get a loan. And yeah, we think of the cop that just pulled us over, or worse, the cop that just pulled over one of our kids. While people of privilege and people in positional power have the luxury of debating the theory of race, Black people are defending their very right to live and breathe, to thrive by any means necessary, because we have always understood the internal process of the oppressor or its beneficiaries is not more important than the decisions and the actions that need to be taken to protect and liberate Black lives. That is the crux of the BLM movement. And in the last few years, the tide has irrevocably turned. The things that have been up for debate are no longer up for debate. We're not playing reinvent the pencil. We're not debating race and racism like a piece of art in a gallery. We understand policy. We understand the problems, and we demand, absolutely demand, that democracy work for us and be accountable to us. And we understand we don't move the needle. We are the needle in getting it done. Next to that growing wave of Black freedom fighters, unapologetically charging forward everywhere across the country, is the wave of social conscience and the tipping of the critical mass of our allies in clearly and irrevocably understanding America has a race problem, in clearly and irrevocably understanding we can't say all lives matter until Black lives do. It's not enough to tweet it or put a sign in your yard, because this is not a fad. And it's not enough for one cop to be convicted. A conviction isn't justice. The BLM movement is the largest and most successful movement in the history of the world. And that's because those of us who are part of it understand that anti-racism is not theory. It is a verb. When you are an anti-racist, you are taking action, not once, not twice, consistently, always. People who support the movement understand that solidarity is also a verb. Those people who stand in solidarity for Black lives take action. They don't rest on the sign in the garden. They advocate because that's what advocacy is. It is sustained action. It is speaking up to make change happen, because that is the only way that we get to the point of advancement. Advancement is 2 steps forward, period, then 2 steps more. To advance on a micro or macro level, we, the people, are pushing the theory and intention of change into the reality of impact. Assata Shakur said, Black revolutionaries do not drop from the moon. We are created by our condition, shaped by our oppressors, and we are being manufactured in droves. The movement to protect and liberate Black lives does not exist just to address issues of law enforcement. We are here to protect and liberate the whole of Black life. We are here to deinstitutionalize our lives, our bodies, our minds, and to institutionalize our power, to change the conditions of the lives of the generations in front of and behind us, from our elders to those who have yet to be born. There have been and always will be generations of us, and until our dying day, we are here to defend, protect, and uplift our Black humanity. It is not a job or a fad or a popularity contest. Black liberation has always been a mandate of the people. We, the people, are pushing the theory and intention of change into the reality of generational, transformational impact. In order to do that as Black people, we have had to reteach everyone else how to treat us by showing up and being our unapologetically brilliant, nuanced Black selves. We are not here to reinvent the pencil. We're here to use it. James Baldwin said, You have to force the world to deal with you, not with its idea of you. And not only are we forcing the world to deal with the truth of who we are as Black people, we are the mirror for everyone else to see who they truly are too. America is in a time of reckoning. The stories it has been telling itself and its people about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, manifest destiny, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and the so-called American dream represent the pretty veneer, not the decay and pain beneath. That harsher varnish we have all been forced to sit with and stare at, particularly over the past year, has made you realize enough is enough. If not now, when? If not us, who? It is easy to say we want a better future for our children and theirs. So let's go back to the pencil. Imagine every person in your community and in the world has one. And imagine your community, your corner of the world is a pencil drawing on paper right in front of you. And gathered around is everyone in your community, pencil in hand. In this moment, together, you have the power to change the picture now, to make that wish of a better future a reality. Being an idealist and having a growth mindset are not the same thing. You have to do more than look at the picture and know in your heart it can be better. You have to challenge the status quo, starting in your own mind. Set aside what is and grab onto what should be right now. We don't reach values and ideals without a path drawn leading to them. What are you doing with your pencil? No more excuses. No more, I don't know where to start. Step up with your pencil in your community, in your own backyard. There is no advancement without accountability. That is what this time of reckoning has brought. The people have decided the systems and laws of American society have largely failed and therefore must change. That is accountability. No more debate. Make the changes starting right now. In Washington state alone, BLM organizers have helped to quarterback over 30 bills representing nearly $500 million of investment that will directly impact the whole of Black life, creating economic freedom, investing in generational wealth, Black equity in criminal justice, access to healthcare, equitable healthcare, fully funded public education, and creating and protecting truly affordable housing. This work will not stop until Black culture is honored, protected, and celebrated, until Black people have the resources to pursue economic freedom and build generational wealth, until Black people have the same expectation of safety that others have, and until Black people are not subjected to extrajudicial punishment, until the physical and mental health of Black people is a priority, until Black children are supported in education in their brilliance, until Black people and their families are safely housed, and until the treaties with sovereign nations of Native Americans are honored, because we understand Indigenous sovereignty and Black liberation always have been and always will be intertwined. Much of the attention of the work of the movement at the state level right now is focused on changes to policing, tactics, independent investigations, and yes, accountability. Defunding police was never just about reducing budgets or the size of the force by an arbitrary number. It is about changing the systems to serve our lives rather than interfere with them or end them. It is about reducing unnecessary, overreaching government intervention in our lives redirecting resources to serve the community, authentic accountability, where officers and departments fail to protect the communities they are charged to serve, not just in big cities, but everywhere across the country and in the state of Washington, which is why statewide solutions to change policing are critical. Yet, in the midst of these historic advancements, we are reminded everywhere in the state and the country, policing is broken. There is an urgent need to bring accountability to law enforcement officers who use excessive and lethal force and who demonstrate they lack the judgment necessary to be allowed to carry a gun and a badge. The public has a right to know if their tax dollars are paying for officers who have a record of excessive force and have been fired in other jurisdictions before once again policing the streets in their communities. But these laws will not magically stop cops from killing or maiming people, because these laws will not stop cops from imagining a deadly threat where one does not exist. It is just a start, and it's not enough, and it is not fast enough. And for some in law enforcement, these laws will not apply. What makes white supremacy hard to combat in the Pacific Northwest in particular is often how subtle it is. In the current civil rights era, the deepest harm perpetuated by white supremacy does not involve tiki torches, very fine people, or white nationalists storming the United States Capitol. No, it is this. Without our consent, Black people have been chained to the standards, fears, comfortability, fragility, and ego of whiteness, rather than having agency and power to define our own standards of existence, like white people do. We can't even walk a street in America.
I'm at 27th and Deidre in Tacoma in North End, about 2 blocks from my house, and I caught somebody in my driveway who's just threatened to kill me, and they blocked him in. He's here right now.
Okay. Go again with your address?
Well, my address is...
Okay.
And he's in some sort of gray car, and he was in my driveway, in my neighbor's driveway, and he knows who I am, and he threatened to kill me, and I got him blocked in at 27th and Deidre.
So, what are you doing with your pencil in your backyard?